We will go ahead and take
Start
up
there.
7.3, consideration of letter of support for the public-private partnership to improve forest health and resilience in Napa and Lake Counties project, CAL FIRE Forest Health Grant Program. And the floor is Matthew Rothstein's. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. Matthew Rothstein, Chief Deputy County Administrative Officer. I'm presenting this morning for Terry Logston, who serves as our Chief Climate Resiliency Officer. Lake County Resource Conservation District is seeking a letter of support for Napa County Resource Conservation District's application to the CAL FIRE Forest Health Grant Program. This application would support funding for the public-private partnerships to improve forest health and resilience in Napa and Lake County's project. Our understanding is since Napa County RCD is the lead agency for the grant, they were seeking projects that would border planned projects in Napa County. And this project calls for 800 plus acres of vegetation management projects in total, in areas including 200 plus acres of fuels reduction and oak woodland restoration work at Lake County's Six Sigma Ranch. A variety of ecologically minded methods are expected to be employed for the work. Lake County Resource Conservation District is engaged as a partner in this project, and Julia Sullivan, Executive Director for the RCD, is present in Zoom to answer any questions that your board may have. And Chief Climate Resiliency Officer Logston recommends your board approve this letter of support and authorize Chair Crandall to sign. Thank you, board.
All right, thank you. Is there any comments from the board? Supervisor Sabatier?
Yeah, I do have a question. What amount of resources is Six Sigma putting into this project, or is it entirely public funds dealing with private property?
Ms. Sullivan, are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for the question and the opportunity to be here. So Six Sigma, the scope of work that we're proposing in this grant would cover the implementation in its entirety across 200 plus acres at Six Sigma Ranch, which is privately owned, but has a large sort of public access component, which is part of why we selected the property, because it worked well in combination with those located in Napa County. But importantly, Six Sigma, as part of this project, is committing to carrying out follow-up maintenance activities in the form of broadcast and prescribed burning on the property to maintain the treatments that we complete with this funding. So that is a significant commitment by the landowner to kind of serve as landowner match. We're actually still figuring out exactly what the value, the sort of cost estimate of that activity would be. But again, it's a significant commitment of time, coordinating with a burn boss and implementing that prescribed burn, probably within a couple years of project implementation. So that is what Six Sigma is committing to as the landowner.
I appreciate the response, and this has been something I've been thinking about since I've read through the letter of, I understand the proximity to the Napa projects, and that's why that was chosen, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like if you own a large amount of land, you're probably going to get helped out a whole lot more than if you own a very small amount of land but still need to be protected from fires. And I don't know that how I feel about, well, I know how I feel about that. I'm very disturbed that that's so easy for us to be able to bring it here and make that happen. And if there was a matching amount that was provided by Six Sigma saying, here's what you're going to get from this grant and here's how much you're going to be putting in, I would feel a whole lot better. But by not putting anything and just future promises, which also sounds like it's maybe going to continue to be a public-private partnership for those future promises, in my opinion, just based on what you just said, I don't know that I can support this without better understanding, because to me, public-private partnerships is we're going to work with a private enterprise to do a service to help the community. In this sense, this really, really helps out one specific private, not just property, but also a business as well. And I get it that they do bring in a lot of public people, but it's still bringing the public into a private business. So I feel like I need a better understanding of what kind of relationships we can build in this way. But it just makes me nervous as to what kind of can of worms we're opening, and if somebody approaches us with a 50 by 100 lot, that we just say, sorry, we can't support that. I don't know. I feel I need to have responsibility of my entire property, and I shouldn't rely on government to protect me from fires, and I need to do it. And so I guess I'm putting my own personal opinion towards other properties and how we're going to do that. So today, I don't feel that I can support this.
Did she have a response? I know you're next. Ma'am? Julia, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'd love to respond to that. I really appreciate that perspective, and I completely I do see and understand your concern, and I would love to just describe a little bit more kind of why we were inclined to pursue this opportunity in working with Napa RCD. So, in addition to kind of the alignment with the properties that Napa RCD is going to be treating in Napa County, there were a couple other things that made this an attractive opportunity for, excuse me, Lake RCD. So. One of them is that we know that this is likely to be an incredibly competitive round of CAL FIRE Forest Health grant funding. It's a reduced pool as compared to previous years, and the RCD actually already has planning funding secured to complete CEQA at the property, which is not true for any other kind of locations within Lake County at this time, just in terms of the funding that we already have. That we know that CAL FIRE is more likely to fund proposals that can demonstrate that they'll complete CEQA within a year of the grant award. So that was kind of a detail that made this, I think, more likely to be funded and kind of steered us towards this property. But I would say most importantly, and in terms of kind of the relationship piece that you were mentioning, Lake RCD is growing tremendously right now, and focusing hard on trying to build the capacity of our forest health program. We hired a forester a couple months ago who's really hit the ground running, but I'm very keen to set up training opportunities and opportunities for her to work with landowners, to shadow other foresters and other forest health programs, in this case, Napa RCD. So through this partnership, we're going to be working super closely with Napa RCD every step of the way to kind of shadow their process in terms of financial and project management, working with contractor crews, overseeing the CEQA process, completing that compliance. And I think it stands to be an incredibly valuable training opportunity for our young program. And so I completely hear your concern related to kind of steering these public dollars towards a private property. But I think the way that I am approaching it is not only will we achieve some forest health benefits across 200 acres within Lake County, but we'll also set our forest health program up to be able to do this work more effectively elsewhere in the county, including working with more disadvantaged landowners on public lands and et cetera, et cetera. So that to me is the real kind of important thread through all of this. And it was really the reason that we opted to participate in this proposal. I don't think we would have the confidence, frankly, to have applied, or the capacity to have applied by ourselves in this current funding round, and are really grateful to Napa RCD for kind of bringing us along and setting us up to be a more effective program and organization when it comes to forest health and forestry work.
And just as a quick comment.
Well, no, she just had her hand up. Go ahead, Supervisor Pyska, and then Helen, then I'll let you. Okay.
So, we apply for millions of dollars every year for private properties. This isn't, in my mind, anything different than any of the CAL FIRE grants, any of there's a lot of grants that come in and that are just targeted for private property. Our county is half private property. And if we're ever going to achieve the goals of forest resilience, then we have to invest in private property. That's what these grants are for. That's what the CAL FIRE grants are for. If you wanted to look back on all of Clerk's work, it's all on private property. The public lands are owned by the state and the federal government, so our attention should be on private lands. And the fact that we're being brought along by Napa RCD to help build our capacity, I don't want to leave this money on the table. I don't want to say no to an opportunity like this. So I don't see how this is any different than any other project that we're working on for fuels management and forest management.
Did you go ahead, Supervisor Spati?
Just wanted to clarify, the two properties that Napa is looking at is the reservoir, which is publicly owned, and the regional park, which is publicly owned, correct?
Yeah, there's Lake Hennessy, Moore Creek Park, and Snowden Vineyards are the 3 properties that Napa will be focusing on.
that's
And
right,
those
there is the
together
vineyard.
constitute around 700 acres.
Yeah, I forgot about the vineyard. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Supervisor Owen?
Yes, are there, by chance, some public
Turn your
land?
microphone on. There you go. There you go.
Is on?
No, there you go.
Thank you. Might there be some public land where this grant could be used as well to reduce the risk? I know that there's a lot of brush and public lands in the area as well. Have you looked at any of those?
Within the bounds of this particular proposal, not in this round. You know, this funding can be used to treat public lands, certainly, and that's something we would look to do in the future. But in terms of this specific proposal, the window for which closes a week from tomorrow, we really had focused on Six Sigma just because it was the place where we had the most momentum, and I think the most realistic shot that we had in terms of securing this funding in this particular round.
So was there a
Certainly-
reason that you did not look at public lands for it?
Sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Was there reasons that you did not look at public lands for the use of this money?
We were not necessarily in the position of being able to. We don't currently have much of a relationship with Mendocino National Forest, for example. And in terms of other public lands in Lake County, we didn't have any project development work that we had already done that would have enabled us to arrive at this kind of proposal writing process ready to stand up a treatment plan and a prescription and all of that. We had a little bit of momentum already at Six Sigma, which is what enabled us to work with kind of the timeline that this application was coming together on. But we are in the process of, with other pots of funding that we've secured, looking to build our relationship with Mendocino National Forest and complete some work on public land. So we certainly are committed to that in general. But in terms of this specific proposal, we were focused, it was either Six Sigma or we likely weren't going to pursue it just because of the kind of limitations that we were looking at, both in terms of capacity and timeline.
And how long have you been working on it?
Since November, but obviously quite a few holidays in there that have made it challenging. And
Sure.
I'll mention that our new forester did start on November 10th or 12th. And so she's just been with us for less than a couple months and has been really integral to this whole process. So there's been a lot happening as we've been trying to pull this together. And worth mentioning that these applications are incredibly complex and require a lot of, there's just a lot of pieces. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Did you have another one, or Supervisor Sabatier, or?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. We'll go ahead and open it up to the public, unless you had anything. No, I don't see anyone. I'll bring it back to the board. Matthew, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we've heard from Ms. Sullivan that this project was the one that best fit with the timeline for the grant application before us today. So it was this particular project that was more CEQA ready than some of the others, or none in Lake County's case for this particular cycle.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and look for action.
I'll make a motion to approve letter of support for the public-private partnerships to improve forest health and resilience in Napa and Lake Counties, Project CAL FIRE Forest Health Grant Program, and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion carries 4-1.